Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Monday, December 6th, 2021. Today, I'm going to recap everything from the weekend. NFL, college football, college basketball, NBA, NHL, Major League Soccer playoffs. Look ahead to everything going on today. Then I will go over the latest news and notes and obviously recap the golf tournament from the weekend and my best bet of the day. All right, we're going to be quick here today. We're going to start with the NFL. We will recap everything from yesterday, and we look ahead to a huge Monday Night Football game for tonight. So, Bucks over the Falcons 30-17, Cards over the Bears 33-22, Chargers over the Bengals 41-22, Lions over the Vikings 29-27. Dolphins over the Giants 20-9, Eagles over the Jets 33-18, Colts over the Texans 31-0, Washington over the Raiders 17-15, Rams over the Jaguars 37-7, Steelers over the Ravens 20-19, Seahawks over the 49ers 30-23, and the Chiefs over the Broncos 22-9. Okay, now we look ahead to tonight, 8:15, ESPN, the Patriots and the Bills. My projection for this game is the Bills by 1.5, total 44.99 or 95, my bad, and it is Bills 2.5, total 41. I think the over is a no-brainer here. I just don't see how each team doesn't score 20-plus points. And I have a slight edge to the Patriots as well. So the podcast pick is over 41. Okay, now we'll do college football. We'll recap the conference championship games from the weekend. We'll look at the Bulls another day on the show when it's not crazy. So, Pac-12 title game, number 17 Utah over number 10 Oregon, 38-10. Conference USA Championship, UTSA over Western Kentucky, 49-41. Saturday, Big 12 Championship, number 9 Baylor over number 5 Oklahoma State, 21-16. MAC Championship, Northern Illinois over Kent State, 41-23. Mountain West, Utah State upsets number 19 San Diego State, 46-13. Sun Belt, number 24 Louisiana over Appalachian State, 24-16. SEC, number 3 Alabama upsets number 1 Georgia, 41-24. American, number 4 Cincinnati over number 21 Houston, 35-20. Big 10, number 2 Michigan over number 13 Iowa, 42-3. ACC, number 15 Pitt over number 16 Wake, 45-21. And Cal over USC 24-14 in a COVID makeup game. All right, now we'll move on to college basketball, where we will recap the games from the weekend and such, and we will look ahead to a short window for tonight. So, without further ado, Friday night. Let's see here. NCAT over Carver College, 97-55. BC over Notre Dame, 73-57. Number 7, Texas over Texas Rio Grande, 88-58. Number 8, Kansas over St. John's, 95-75. SC State over South Florida, 65-64. Presbyterian over Bob Jones, 90-61. Northeastern over Colgate, 74-69. Furman over Charleston, 91-88 in overtime. Cornell over Coppin State, 92-77. St. Peter's over Quinnipiac, 69-59. Iona over Rider, 80-54. Manhattan over Siena, 77-72 in overtime. Monmouth over Niagara, 57-49. Fairfield over Canisius, 74-68. Illinois over Rutgers, 86-51. Number 15 Houston over Bryant, 111-44. South Dakota over Waldrop, 93-37. New Mexico State over UTEP, 72-69. South Dakota State over Mid Morris, 112-47. Louisiana over New Orleans, 80-67. Virginia over Pitt, 57-56. Number 2 Purdue over Iowa, 77-70. Boise State over Tulsa, 63-58. UC Irvine over Bethesda, 86-54. UC Santa Barbara over Pepperdine, 86-74. VMI over Portland, 90-82. San Jose State over North Dakota, 76-51. And Yellowstone, Utah Valley was canceled. Saturday, number 6 Villanova over St. Joe's, 81-52. Ole Miss over number 18 Memphis, 67-63. Number 25 Seton Hall over Nyack College, 113-67. UMass over Harvard, 87-77. Miami over Clemson, 80-75. Milwaukee over Robert Morris, 77-69. Oakland over IUPUI, 78-45. Indiana over Nebraska, 68-55. Number 23, Wisconsin over Marquette, 89-76. Number 24, Michigan over San Diego State, 72-58. Coastal Carolina over Winthrop, 74-64. Loyola Maryland over Mount St. Mary's, 61-55. Indiana State over Miami of Ohio, 69-68. BU over Binghamton, 68-63. Purdue Fort Wayne over Northern Kentucky, 71-57. Eastern Washington over Omaha, 92-81. Number 13, Tennessee over Colorado, 69-54. Number 21, Auburn over Yale, 86-64. Western Illinois over Tennessee Martin, 81-64. Mercer over Georgia State, 83-77. Hofstra over Bucknell, 88-69. Tulane over Alcorn State, 85-64. UNC Asheville over NC Central, 82-66. North Texas over Shreveport, LSU, 73-35. Evansville over Tennessee Tech, 59-51. Providence over Rhode Island, 66-52. LaSalle over Holy Cross, 84-65. Charlotte over George Washington, 86-79. Columbia over Maine, 77-66. Louisville over NC State, 73-68. Wake over Virginia Tech, 80-61. Dayton over Northern Illinois, 79-41. Southeast Missouri State over Webster, 76-64. Eastern Illinois over North Park, 76-71. Longhorn over Delaware State, 78-58. Bryce over Jarvis Christian, 162. Bradley over SIU Edwardsville, 80-55. East Carolina over Gardner-Webb, 62-52. Yale Monroe over Northwestern State, 84-71. A&M Corpus Christi over Southwestern, 111-60. Davidson over William & Mary, 70-46. Cleveland State over Wright State, 85-75. Ohio over St. Francis, Pennsylvania, 78-75. Number 10, Arkansas over Little Rock, 93-78. Number 12, BYU over Missouri State, 74-68. Number 17, UConn over Grambling, 88-59. Montana State over Sacramento State, 68-66. Air Force over Army, 76-58. West Virginia over Radford, 67-51. Jackson State over Illinois State, 61-55. Princeton over Drexel, 81-79 in overtime. Loyola Chicago over DePaul, 68-64. VC over Campbell, 65-61. Wyoming over McNeese, 79-58. Abilene Christian over Incarnate Word, 98-65. Colorado State over St. Mary's, 74-58. Temple over Pennsylvania, 81-72. New Hampshire over Central Com, 67-45. Syracuse over Florida State, 68-360. St. Bonaventure over Buffalo, 68-65. Maryland Eastern over Lehigh, 81-75. Number 4, Baylor over Arkansas Pine Bluff, 99-54. Number 22, Michigan State over Toledo, 81-68. UC Davis over UC Merced, 81-40. Southern Utah over Idaho, 81-75. Chicago State over Tennessee State, 59-49. Louisiana Tech over Santa Clara, 78-75. Arkansas State over Central Arkansas, 95-82. Stephen F. Fawcett over Wiley, 176. Howard over American, 90-56. Number 20, USC over Washington State, 63-61. Western Carolina over South Carolina Upstate, 78-73. SMU over Vandy, 84-72. Hampton over Norfolk State, 58-57. UAB over St. Louis, 77-72. Wagner over Stony Brook, 78-49. Western Kentucky over Eastern Kentucky, 85-80. FIU over Stetson, 72-65. UMass Lowell over Merrimack, 61-57. Fresno State over Cal State Northridge, 61-43. High Point over Roland, 83-77. Old Dominion over George Mason, 60-50. Loyola Marymount over Long Beach State, 77-74. Marshall over Duquesne, 72-71. Florida Gulf Coast over Dartmouth, 78-68 in overtime. Youngstown State over Green Bay, 82-58. Akron over Southern, 79-62. East Tennessee State over Illinois Rhine, 90-66. Number 16, Alabama over number 3, Gonzaga, 91-82. UMKC over Calvary, 94-32. Murray State over Middle Tennessee, 93-87. Weber State over Portland State, 80-69. Northern Colorado over Montana, 78-75. Northern Arizona over Idaho State, 73-70. Oral Roberts over Houston Baptist, 85-67. Grand Canyon over Mississippi Valley State, 91-44. Cal State Fullerton over Pacific, 66-57. South Alabama over Jacksonville State, 74-64. Number 19, Iowa State over Creighton, 64-58. Southern Illinois over Southern Miss, 66-41. Dixie State over St. Catherine, 97-65. And San Francisco over UNLV, 83-62. Sunday, Northwestern over Maryland, 67-61. Cornell over Keuka, 122-64. Fairfield over Niagara, 81-71. Monmouth over Canisius, 79-65. Wofford over Kennesaw State, 88-62. Hartford over San Francisco, Brooklyn, 68-55. Delaware over UMBC, 70-60. UCF over Bethune-Cookman, 81-45. South Carolina over Georgetown, 80-67. Minnesota over Mississippi State, 81-76. Richmond over Northern Iowa, 60-52. Brown over Sacred Heart, 79-66. NJIT over Lafayette, 90-86 in double overtime. Florida Atlantic over North Florida, 76-41. Detroit Mercy over UIC, 64-56. Texas State over Denver, 71-58. Marist over Rider, 79-67. Quinnipiac over Manhattan, 90-73. Siena over St. Peter, 60-58. Western Illinois over Central Michigan, 97-70. Valparaiso over Western Michigan, 71-60. Number 5 in UCLA, because Washington forfeit. I don't know what happened there. Was there COVID with Washington? I'm going to Google this right now, because let's see if this is COVID related. Yeah, they're forced to cancel due to COVID issues. So that makes sense. Bellarmine over Defiance, 92-43. North Alabama over Carver College, 103-40. Belmont over Sanford, 85-73. Austin Peay over Milligan, 98-55. Drake over St. Thomas, 74-64. North Carolina over Georgia Tech, 79-62. Number 11, Arizona over Oregon State, 90-65. UC Santa Barbara over Cal Lutheran, 87-66. San Diego over Cal Poly, 51-52. VMI over Seattle, 89-82. Lamar over Our Lady, 67-64. Eastern Michigan over Northwood, 79-57. Southeast Louisiana over Troy, 72-68. Chattanooga over Lipscomb, 85-64. Xavier over Oklahoma State, 77-71. Utah over Cal, 66-58. Kansas State over Wichita State, 65-59. Cincinnati over Bryant, 73-58. St. John's over Fordham, 83-69. Arizona State over Oregon, 69-67 in overtime. Ohio State over Penn State, 76-64. And Charleston Southern over Tarleton, 59-57. Now we look ahead to a very small window for tonight in college basketball. 5 o'clock, Millersville, Morgan State, we can skip. 6 o'clock, Texas Southern against number 14, Florida. My projection is Florida by 20. And it is 22.5 and 138.5. I'm taking Southern in the points. 7 o'clock, Columbia, Colgate. I project Colgate by 10 3/4. It's 21.5 and 150.5. I'm taking Columbia. Mercer and Coastal Carolina. I project Mercer by 1 3/4, and it is Coastal by 2 total, 139.5. I'm taking Mercer plus the 2 and plus 112 straight up. 4 East Georgia State, we can skip. NC Central to Citadel. I project Citadel by 6. And Citadel by 8.5. I'm taking Central in the points. Presbyterian and Morehead State. I project Morehead by 12.5. And it is 9.5. I'm laying it with Morehead. Towson, Kent State. I project Kent by 9 1/4. And it's Kent by 5.5. I'm laying it with Kent. Babson, Harvard, we can skip. Delaware State and Liberty. I project Liberty by a whopping 27 3/4. It's 22.5. I'm going to lay it. A big game tonight in college basketball on Fox Sports 1. Illinois, Iowa in conference play. My projection is Illinois by 4.5. And it's Iowa by 3 total, 150.5. I'm going to take Illinois plus the 4.5 and plus 132 on the money line. I don't believe in Iowa quite yet. Alcorn State at number 15, Houston. My projection is Houston by a whopping 34 3/4, and it is 31.5 totals, 131.5. I'll lay it with Houston. 9 o'clock, New Mexico State, New Mexico. I project New Mexico State by 11 1/4, and it's State by 4.5. I'm going to lay it at 4.5 with State. And last but not least, 10 o'clock, San Jose State and Pepperdine. I project Pepperdine by 7 1/4, and it's 4.5 for Pepperdine. I'm going to lay the 4.5 with Pepperdine. All right, now we look back at the NBA from the weekend, and we look ahead to tonight's games. So we'll begin with Friday night. Heat over the Pacers, 113-102. Cavs over the Wizards, 116-101. Sixers over the Hawks, 98-96. Nets over the Wolves, 110-105. Rockets over the Magic 118-116. Pels over the Mavs 107-91. Jazz over the Celtics 137-130. Warriors over the Suns 118-96. Clippers over the Lakers 119-115. Saturday, Nuggets over the Knicks 113-99. Bulls over the Nets 111-107. Bucks over the Heat 124-102. Grizzlies over the Mavs 97-90. Spurs over the Warriors 112-107. Celtics over the Blazers 145-117. And the Kings over the Clippers 104-99. And then yesterday, Jazz over the Cavs 109-108. Hornets over the Hawks 131-27. Raptors over the Wizards 102-90. And the Rockets over the Pelicans 118-108. Now we look ahead to tonight's slate. Busy night. 7 o'clock, the 76ers and the Hornets. My projection is Sixers by 2. I didn't do totals today because I didn't have time. And it is Sixers by whopping 8. Total 217.5. That's how much they think of LaMelo and less of what they think of Simmons. I'm taking Charlotte and 8. That's way too high. I just don't think the Sixers are as good as people think. Even against a short man Hornets. That's way too high. I like Charlotte. I don't think they're going to win, though. Thunder Pistons on NBA TV. What a bad game for NBA TV. I project Pistons by 3.25, and it's 4.5 and 203.5. I'll take the under. Wizards and the Pacers. I project the Wizards by 2.25, and it's Pacers by 5. Is Bradley Beal out or something? Why is that number like that? I am double checking to make sure Bradley Beal is in the lineup for the Washington Wizards tonight. Says he is. I don't get that at all. That is probably the worst line I've seen all year. Give me Washington plus the 5 and plus 166 on the money line. Grizzlies Heat at 7:30. My projection is Heat by 6.5. It's 5 and 214. So the absences of Bam and Ja pretty much cancel each other out. I'm going to take the under because of those absences. Nuggets Bulls from the United Center at 8 o'clock. My projection is the Bulls by 8.75. And it is Bulls by 4. I'm going to lay the 4 with the Bulls. Cavaliers Bucks. My projection is Bucks by 12.75. And it is 6.5 and 214.5. I'm going to lay with the Bucks. Hawks and the Timberwolves. My projection is the Hawks by 0.5. And it's Minnesota by 2.5, total 221. I'm taking the Hawks plus the 2.5 and plus 120 straight up. I think the Hawks can still win this game without Bogdanovich. 9 o'clock, Spurs Suns. I project the Suns by 13.75. And it is 8 and 215.5. I'm going to lay with the Suns. The Magic and the Warriors. My projection is Warriors by a whopping 26.5. And this is a 10 o'clock game. And it's 16.5. I'm going to lay it. And then Clippers Trailblazers, I project the Clippers by 5.25, and it's Clippers by 3.5. So I can't lay it with the Clips because it's less than 2 as a projection. Instead, without Dame, I'm going to take the under in this spot. All right, now I'll move on to the NHL, where that league made news this morning and last night, which I'll get to in news and notes. So I'll recap the games from the weekend. Look ahead to tonight. Friday, Rangers over the Sharks 1-0. Jets over the Devils 8-4. Golden Knights over the Coyotes 7-1. Flames over the Ducks 4-3 in a shootout. Kraken over the Oilers 4-3. Saturday, Panthers over the Blues 4-3 in a shootout. Lightning over the Bruins 3-2 in overtime. Senators over the Avalanche 6-5 in overtime. Red Wings over the Islanders 4-3 in overtime. Caps over the Blue Jackets 3-1. Preds over the Canadiens 4-3 in overtime. Wild over the Maple Leafs 4-3 in a shootout. Hurricanes over the Sabres 6-2. Rangers over the Blackhawks 3-2. And the Penguins over the Canucks 4-1. And Sunday, the Lightning over the Flyers 7-1. Blue Jackets over the Sharks 6-4. Blackhawks over the Islanders 3-2 in a shootout. Jets over the Maple Leafs 6-3. Kings over the Oilers 5-1. The Golden Knights over the Flames 3-2. Now tonight's games, 6 games. 7 o'clock, you have the Avalanche and the Flyers. The Avs are minus 164. The Flyers are plus 136. Over under 6.5. Over is minus 106. Under minus 114. Avs minus 1.5 is plus 146. The Flyers plus 1.5 is minus 180. Flyers are making changes. We'll get to that in news and notes. But my pick for this game is going to be the Avalanche in regulation at minus 105. Ducks Capitals on NHL Network. The Caps are minus 215. The Ducks are plus 176. Over under 6. Over is even money. Under is minus 122. Ducks plus 1/2 is minus 148. Caps minus 1/2 is plus 120. The Ducks are a good team. They're getting so much disrespect. And getting them at over plus 170 on the road as a dog. I'm going to take my chances here. It just went down to plus 172, but I'll still take it at that. Senators, Devils. Devils minus 194, Sens plus 160, over under 6.5. Over is even money, under is minus 122. Sens plus 1.5 is minus 168. And Devils minus 1.5 is plus 136. I'm going to take Ottawa on the road. I just don't believe in New Jersey as this big as a favorite. They shouldn't be this much as a favorite, so I'm going to go with Ottawa as a road dog. 8:30, the Coyotes and the Stars. Dallas is minus 335. Coyotes are plus 265, over under 5.5. Over is minus 104, under is minus 118. Coyotes plus 1.5 is minus 104. Dallas minus 1.5 is minus 118. I'm taking Dallas puck line minus 1.5 and minus 118. 10 o'clock, the Kings and the Canucks. The Kings are plus 115. The Canucks are minus 138. Over under 5.5. Over is minus 112. Under is minus 108. Kings plus 1.5 is minus 245. Canucks minus 1.5 is plus 194. Canucks made changes. We'll get to that in news and notes as well. But my pick for this game, I'm going to go with the under 5.5 and minus 108. I just think this is a lower scoring game. And the Penguins and the Kraken. The Pens are minus 126. The Kraken are plus 105. Over under 6. Over is minus 102. Under is minus 120. Penguins minus 1.5 is plus 198. Kraken plus 1.5 is minus 250. I'm going with the Kraken plus 105 as the home dog here. They're playing a lot better. And I think they'll pick off the Penguins here, who are finishing up a long West Coast trip. All right, now move on to Major League Soccer. 2 playoff games from the weekend, so we know who's in the finals. We'll start with Saturday. Portland over Salt Lake 2-0 to move on to the MLS final. And Sunday, NYCFC over Philadelphia 2-1 as NYCFC goes to their first ever final as they rally back from 1-0 down the win. What a win for NYCFC. And Saturday's the final. Portland and NYCFC. We'll preview and pick it on the podcast on Friday. All right, golf. We'll recap the weekend it was. Small tournament with a bunch of big names. And we will recap the results from the Hero World Challenge. And your winner with a score of 18 under was Victor Hovland. Second with 17 under, Scotty Scheffler. Third place tie with 15 under, Patrick Reed and Sam Burns. Fifth place tie with 14 under, Justin Thomas and Colin Marikwa. Seventh place tie with 13 under, Daniel Berger and my pick of Tony Finau. Tied for ninth with 11 under, Tyrell Hatton, Justin Rose, and Brooks Koepka. Tied for 12th with 10 under, Matthew Fitzpatrick and Xander Schauffele. Tied for 14th with 8 under, Harry English, Abraham Ancer, and Bryson DeChambeau. 17th with 7 under, Webb Simpson. 18th with 6 under, Rory McIlroy. 19th with 1 over, Henrik Stenson. And 20th with 6 over, Jordan Spieth. Next tournament is the Tournament of Champions, which isn't until January, so they're going to get a Christmas break here. So we won't have golf again until January, so that's good for those golfers getting a break. So we'll preview and pick these golf tournaments come 2022. All right, next up, news and notes. A lot to get to. Just coming down the pipe right now. Miami has fired Manny Diaz. And that is after reportedly agreeing to a deal with Mario Cristobal from Oregon. So, that is absolutely insane. That Cristobal thing came out before they announced the Diaz firing. So you knew this was coming. So Cristobal's leaving Oregon for Miami. That's a big loss for Oregon and a big gain for Miami. And now let's see if Cristobal is ready to take on a job like this with a dysfunctional program, in my opinion, in Miami, where they're hiring and firing coaches left and right. And they just really haven't been the U in years now. So we'll see how Cristobal does there. From Friday, the Blazers fired Nhl Injuries after investigation showed he violated the franchise's code of conduct with that whole incident. And then candidates for that job, Knicks GM Scott Perry and Bulls GM Mark Eversley. Couple NHL injuries. Tyler Johnson had neck surgery to miss 3 months for the Blackhawks, and Joel Farabee week to week with an upper body injury he suffered against the Rangers. Another Oklahoma commit flips to USC. Makai Lemon, days after decommitting from OU, so he's flipping with Lincoln Riley. Mark Turgeon out at Maryland. That's another big coaching change from the weekend after the team's off to its slow start. So that's going to be a big job that's opening in college basketball come spring, unless they hire someone in season, which I doubt. Penny Hardaway rips team after loss to Ole Miss. It says his team is jealous in terms of the veterans. Jealous vets after loss. I'm going to have to be a complete asshole from this point on, he says. Big Ben expects to leave Pittsburgh as folks are saying it's his last season with the Steelers. So, good on Big Ben for rallying against the Ravens yesterday. So, those fans are going to be very appreciative in their next couple of home games, assuming that, depending on whether they make the playoffs or not. Luke Fickell on NFL teams' radars as Cincinnati becomes the first Group of 5 team to make the college football playoff. We'll get into those seedings in a moment. The 2022 NFL salary cap to hit $208.2 million, as it's supposed to jump nearly $26 million. Antonio Brown's future at the Bucs unclear after his 3-game suspension ends. People around the league are saying that the 2022 NFL Draft may have no quarterbacks picked in the top 10 for the first time since 2013, which won't surprise me. So the playoffs. Number 1 is Alabama. Number 2 is Michigan. 3 is Georgia. 4 Cincinnati. Notre Dame 5. Ohio State was 6. So Notre Dame was first one out. Ohio State was second one out. So the Cotton Bowl is Alabama, Cincinnati, and the Peach Bowl, Michigan, Georgia, and the semis are set for New Year's Eve. So the New Year's Six Bowl, the Rose Bowl is Utah and Ohio State. The Sugar Bowl, Ole Miss and Baylor. The Orange Bowl, Pitt and Michigan State. And the Fiesta Bowl is Notre Dame and Oklahoma State. So, Oklahoma not in the New Year's Six. Iowa misses out on New Year's Six. I think they did Iowa dirty here. I thought Iowa deserved better for making the Big Ten championship game. They gave a little bit of favoritism towards Ohio State, and rightfully so. And even Michigan State to some degree. You knew Notre Dame deserved the New Year's Six because they were finished 5th in the final rankings. But Iowa is a good bowl game, but it's not a New Year's Six. So, I think Iowa was the big loser here, and that's because I thought they gave a little favoritism towards Michigan State for having their big year. And Ohio State did deserve the New Year's Six because they placed 6th in the final rankings, but it does go by the final rankings rather than who was the runner-up in the Big Ten championship game. And the football chairman says the SEC rematch is no factor as they simply rank teams 1 to 4 and do not consider preventing a rematch as a factor. Bad news for Alabama, though. Wide receiver John Mechie has a torn ACL as he'll miss time after the injuries he sustained against Georgia. So a torn ACL for him. And Nick Saban says that everyone wanted to gain a little respect, and I think maybe we did. They absolutely earned and deserved their respect after kicking Georgia's ass, that's for sure. And Alabama is deserving of that number 1 seed with the way they played. I think they're probably going to win the title. Even though that injury is pretty big, but they should be the favorites to win the title right now. Ole Miss extends Lane Kiffin amid the Miami rumors, so they have Cristobal instead, and then Lane Kiffin stays with Ole Miss. And Oklahoma made its hire. Brent Venables, the former Clemson defensive coordinator. Finally, Venables gets his shot. I thought he was the best coordinator in the country for a long time, and he finally gets his opportunity. I always thought he got a lot out of some players in Clemson, and I think that Oklahoma changing its reputation here, going with defense with its head coach. The Vancouver Canucks made some changes. They fired head coach Travis Green, and reportedly replacing him will be former Capitals, Ducks, and Wild coach Bruce Boudreau. I think that's an outstanding hire for Vancouver. And I think that Boudreau can really turn that team around. And they also fired GM Jim Benning and assistant GM John Weisbord in wake of the 8-15-2 start to their season. So, major changes in Vancouver and major changes in Philadelphia as they fire head coach Alain Vigneault and assistant Michel Therrien. This is not surprising, especially how they performed yesterday and recently. Philly dysfunctional organization. Michel Therrien, obviously former head coach of Montreal, also fired from the Philly staff. So AV was just a disappointment there. It makes the Rangers look better because they fired him. And, yeah, their coach after AV was a complete bust in David Quinn. But their current coach now, Gerard Gallant, is amazing. And he's done an outstanding job with the Rangers. And in my mind, should be right up there for the Jack Adams Award, along with Columbus Blue Jackets head coach who has done an amazing job. And what's his name? Brad Larson. I think Brad Larson's the coach of the year, and I think Gerard Gallant has to be second for that. And Philly's intern's going to be Mike Yeo, who was the former coach of the Minnesota Wild. And if I'm not mistaken, he was the coach of the Blues after Keith Hitchcock left. He was intern there, and then he got fired, and then it was Berube, and the rest was history. So Mike Yeo gets another opportunity to be a head coach. News coming down moments ago, Jake Paul announces on Twitter he'll fight Tyron Woodley after Tommy Fury dropped out due to medical reasons on December 18th. So that's a really big deal. Purdue losing 2 players to the NFL draft. George Karlaftis and David Bell. So a wide receiver and a defensive end. So 2 big players for Purdue going to the draft. Damian Lillard wants to play Ben Simmons, apparently, as multiple sources say, according to Shams and The Athletic. Couple NFL injuries. Joey Bosa had a head injury. Joe Burrow played with a swollen pinky. Trenton Cannon exited in an ambulance after a scary hit on the opening kickoff against the Seahawks. A couple season-ending injuries. Kenyon Drake, broken ankle, and then he calls out the league on Twitter. Logan Thomas out for the year, tears ACL and MCL against the Raiders. Marlon Humphrey out for the year with a shoulder injury. That's a big loss for the Ravens defense. And Adam Thielen has a high ankle sprain and will undergo further testing. And some non-related sports news. course, Cuomo fired by CNN. Not surprised. He says he's disappointed, and this is not how I want my time at CNN to end. And there's new sexual misconduct allegation against Cuomo, which led to his firing. And this, obviously, to me, links the whole situation with his brother, Andrew, who recently resigned as governor of New York. Bob Dole passes away at the age of 98, former senator and presidential candidate. That's sad. Thoughts and prayers to him and his family. And the last one, sports related, but at the same time not. Derek Jeter and Hannah Davis welcome a secret baby, according to Odyssey. So Derek Jeter, a dad again. So, number 3. So Jeter's a dad again. And let's see what they named it. River Rose Jeter. I think that's great. That's a really great name. So, Bella, Story, and River. So Bella's 4 stories too, and then now they had another one. So that's 3 kids for Derek Jeter and his wife Hannah. So congrats to Jeter and Hannah Davis. All right, last but not least, my best bet of the day. Brought to you by FanDuel. I'm taking Washington plus the points against Indiana. I wanted to take the over in the Patriots game, which I'm still going to do. The over 41 is a part of Fab 5, so that's a announcement for you guys. So the last of Fab 5 is going to be over 41 in Patriots Bills. And best bet is going to be the Wizards plus the 4.5. It went down to 4.5 against Indiana at Indianapolis. All right, so there you have it for the show today. I'll be back tomorrow recapping everything from all the sports. We'll get ahead to tomorrow. I think I'm going to do hit or miss 2020 NHL Draft Edition. So that's going to be an interesting one for sure. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.